a good crowd. How many of you are navigating midlife here?
Hands up.
Only Aditi, the one who looks like she's never even entered midlife. Wow.
I think we should tell them what midlife is.
Yeah, what is it? It's when you start feeling a transition, you start feeling like you need to reset, reboot. How do you define it?
Well, physically it's defined as where you are at your age, which is roundabout, I would say, 40 plus. Now how many hands do I see? Okay.
Only the honest
Raise
one.
them. There's no shame in saying you're in midlife. And that's midlife. That's technically how you define it.
I guess so. I feel that, I felt that I would never be able to say, I would think midlife is one, when you become an auntie in Indian terms and all of that. But I just feel that the moment I felt that my body and my mind were ready for phase 2, I wouldn't call it phase 3, phase 2, I said, okay, now I need a lot of mini resets in my mind and my career and the way I look at things. And I was just telling Aditi 5 minutes ago, we were sitting and chatting, and I said, the moment I acknowledged that I've hit midlife, half my problems were over. I put my age out for anyone to see, and I said, now what do I have to hide? This is it. I am 52. Take it or leave it. And I can't tell you what a release I felt after that. And I very happily, went about trying to negotiate it. And being a woman and being in midlife is a very special thing in India because we are so used to not acknowledging people who are in their 45, 50 age band. And I just feel for women, especially, sorry, I apologize to the men for being very specific about women, but we are actually talking about hitting midlife for women because, sorry boys, it is way tougher for women because somehow, and this is not a male bashing exercise, there is a lot out there for men to take in about fitness and about nutrition and about how to deal with a 45-year-old male body, but women are just expected to, bear it and go along with whatever nature is bringing them after 40, 45, and they hit perimenopause and menopause, and you're just expected to be invisible in a room, not take up too much space, and suffer it like our mothers did. But I don't think in 2022 we have to sit and lump it.
Yes,
I think we can
I agree. So, yeah, midlife is, I think acceptance has a lot to do with it. I think for women, it's accepting aging, which is a big deal. So you're going to see, your weight will not shift during this time because the body has a tendency to hang on to the weight. It's a protective mechanism going through this time. But you've got to work that much harder. So I know, Minnie, you upped your game as far as your fitness was concerned. And I know you told me also that you decided to turn it around by taking your fitness regimen to another level.
Absolutely. So Shonali, for me, what happened was that I suddenly, and I've been a fairly fit person, but I'm also somebody who's taken my body and my genes for granted for a long time that, I can eat and drink what I want and I'll be fine. And, I look reasonably good. I'm in the media, chal raha hai kaam. And then I saw my body change after 40, like you just said. Nothing would change, nothing would move. I would work out and my visceral fat would just increase, and I was like, what is happening? And then I realized, and I started reaching out saying, okay, am I in perimenopause? And I realized very few doctors and OBGYNs and healthcare providers actually understand menopause or have been trained to deal with it specifically. Now, of course, we are waking up to it, but for the longest time, gynacs would pay a lot of attention to childbirth and fertility and postnatal care, but nothing for women over 45. And then I hit a point where I was getting joint pain and I was feeling low about myself and I was putting on weight. I couldn't sleep at night. I had a frozen shoulder. I was getting hot flashes. I had memory fog. And I was like, okay, so this is it. Now, either I deal with this and go on in life, or I turn everything around on a turnkey basis. And the first thing I did was I changed the way I ate, which is what I want to talk to you about. I changed the way I looked at fitness, not as something that I have to go and, oh my God, I have to work out. No, it has to be a lifestyle where you do this every single day. You can choose your poison, as I say, but it's something that you just have to incorporate. I changed the way I look at myself mentally. Like I said, I first just said, okay, I'm this. I don't have to hide behind how young I can look or how I can behave. And I cut a lot of toxic shit out of my life. It's changed my life. I've never felt better than I do today. And that's why I feel that more women need to know that they don't have to suffer through midlife and they don't have to suffer through these symptoms. And by just addressing these 4-5 things, they can really turn it around.
So, midlife is a second birth in women. So for women, it's a great time to acknowledge the fact that you're actually getting time to, because if you're married, you've kind of dealt with your kids, they're out of the house, they've flown the nest. If you're single, you've dealt with your relationships, the toxic ones have gone and you've kind of arrived. If you're, I'm there, so I know that. If you're, if you've gone through a divorce, you've kind of dealt with it, you're married again and you're settled. If you're not married, you're happy. Okay? So midlife is a time where women get a chance to, actually, it's a fact, they get a second birth. And you should be taking life by the horns like you did and turning it around. And it's a fantastic time you are given to do just that. Instead of saying, hey, I've got that extra wrinkle or I've got that line or my thighs are too big. I had big thighs, but I worked really hard on them. And in midlife, I've got the best thighs ever. So you've got to really be relentless because the changes are slow. The metabolism does slow down, so you're going to have to work that much harder. And I think mental health is something you've got to pay attention to. That's really, really important.
I think physiologically also, women, a little bit of low moods and depression and memory fog is something that most of us can expect. But I think this is the time to basically take out chunks of time that are only yours, and you do that relentlessly, like you said. You say, okay, I'm going to travel out with my friends and tap into my friends and my sisterhood, like you said. We don't tap into that enough, which I want to talk to you about. Also, I put time aside for myself and I prioritize myself, which I think every woman who's hitting 45, like you said, you've done most of your dirty jobs, and now it's really time to sit and relax, and we have to really look at midlife as a shift in priorities for women as well. You don't have to be the ever-suffering Nirupa Roy who's like, tum haath muh dho lo, main khana lagati hu person. What the hell,
Yeah, it's also a great time for creativity in women. So you're actually, when I say second birth, I mean you're actually at a time in your life when you can start a new project and everything supports you if you're thinking right. So it's actually the time to say, hey, I've been thinking of that business idea, I didn't do anything about it, let me do something now. Because it's literally your second birth. And I wanted to get in mental health a little bit because I think it's really important for women to focus on some kind of mental health practice. Whether it's pranayam, meditation, hanging out with friends, laughter club, whatever it may take to keep you happy, play with your dogs, playtime, journaling, whatever it is. I think that really helps women going to a psychologist. I've done that for years. Vipassana meditation, I've done that for years. So I think those are the things that have seen me through much later in my life because you've sown the seeds in the beginning, but it's never too late, So that's another thing that women need to really focus on, getting into the midlife. It's a good idea to prepare a decade in advance. I always say that.
Absolutely, but it's the biggest, like you just said, it's you can use this time to pivot on your careers. So let me just tell you some very alarming figures that I was going through, because there are 1.2 billion women currently who are in this midlife stage, or they're in menopause or whatever. And there is such little funding that goes behind their healthcare that it is almost alarming. And the rates of women falling off from their jobs, not taking that promotion, not being able to represent themselves correctly and efficiently at CEO level jobs. Harvard had done a study actually which says, why don't we have enough women CEO representation on top corporate jobs in the world? And they realized that 40 is the time women are up for that job, 45, and that's when they are undergoing all these strange changes in their body, their mind, their physiology, and then they all drop out. Yeah. So if you actually prevented it and preempted it, nobody will have to drop out. I personally have taken a huge career pivot, and I'm going to start something that people start in their 30s at this ripe, a wonderful age, but it keeps me busy. I am full of creative beans, and I think if we just turn it around in its head, it can be a life changer.
It can be a great phase in every woman's life, and it can also be a great phase of just accepting who you are, aging-wise. I'm talking about your skin, your hair, your lines, and everything. You want to go ahead and do that Botox, please do. You want to go ahead and not do it, don't do it.
In fact,
you want to
please
go
do
ahead
it
and
now.
go grey, you know.
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing that we put, taboo on, oh, she is aging, she must be doing Botox. Do your thing. The people who need to be, a little on the back foot about using Botox and fillers are the 20-year-olds. Boss, you've got young skin, you don't. But if a 40-year-old's doing it, she's totally justified in doing it, right? I mean, so whatever's your thing is good.
Thing. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's a great phase.
So, Shonali, let's talk about a little bit about, it'll be nice, like we said, to have a few takeaways, right? We have certain aspects that we've identified, fitness, food, mental wellness, okay, supplements. You deal with, macrobiotic nutrition. What is this? What is it that women should start doing to their diet when they hit 40, 45?
So eat less sugar, that's all I can say. Women tend to hide behind their thyroid glands and they hide behind their periods. So PMS is a great signal that you are heading in the right or wrong direction. So if you are still getting your period, then if you're PMSing, it's time to pay attention because you're probably going to go through perimenopause really badly. So you need to kind of grab it by the horns right there. I would say that, alcohol is something women need to also question during this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Cut it out for a bit. No one's asking you not to drink it, but on some days it's just a choice between drinking and sleeping at night. So, I pick sleeping at night.
Absolutely. So sugars come in many forms. Alcohol is sugar, actually. And women say that they crave more sugar and then they hide behind it because they say, oh, we need it because we are ovulating, but it's all an excuse. You have to look at your cravings. And I think for that, the biggest takeaway I can give you is include a whole grain at one meal a day, whether it's a millet or a red rice or a brown rice or a black rice, because you're getting sustained sugars through it. So that's one big takeaway I can give you. No matter who's telling you don't eat your carbs. Yeah, because you do need fiber and you need green fiber because it's feeding the gut bacteria very differently. And then there's a whole science.
I've really upped my fiber by 100%, and it really works for me.
Yeah,
a little bit of fasting works for me, and just starting every meal with fiber first. FF is what I call it. You start your meal with fiber, so then you slow down the absorption of everything else that you're going to be eating after that, and that is magic. I can't tell you. I can't scream it from the rooftop. I do raw, so I do salads, but with avocados and with bits of chunks of coconut, so good fats, healthy fats.
You're doing raw as a lifestyle?
No, not at all. But I start with a little bit of raw. Of course, I may be doing some things wrong, which
you're not.
But it works for me so far. And
whatever works for you, That's another thing.
I mean, there are principles that you follow.
There's no generic here. Even in nutrition, you're getting a lot of information on social media, and everybody's following. Don't mistake Google for being your doctor or your nutritionist.
Beware of
we're following all
uncertified people giving advice, really.
Absolutely. So you need to know what works for you. Like I know before I have a situation like that where I'm talking to you, I need a whole grain in my lunch because I'm not going to be having the brain sugars to think if I was to skip it.
I did it. Once I went completely off rice and carbs because it was the thing many years ago. As a presenter, I couldn't articulate words. I couldn't speak. I couldn't think of the right words. I'm like, this is not for me. I'm going to do my millets.
Exercise, so your muscles are not going to get the sugars that they need either. So yeah, you've got to, I think one size doesn't fit all. It has to be customized nutrition for yourself.
Largely fiber, protein is important.
Vegetables.
And vegetables,
fruit,
which is also
because
fiber.
We're in a tropical climate, and fermented foods.
Yeah.
I stress a lot of that.
Fermented foods, So I'm doing my kimchis and your pickled vegetables
different
and
kind of fermentation. These are all names that have come out into the market thanks to a lot of people who've been speaking about it.
You can make it at home. We are Indians. We have pickled, we've been fermenting
Yeah.
things
For
forever
a
on our
long time,
terraces
yeah.
and dhoop
Yeah.
mein,
Yeah.
kanji is fermented.
So we need that little bit rather than just our curd.
Yeah.
We need a little more.
Yes.
So for those who are doing curd, please be happy. I don't advocate dairy, but otherwise, fermented foods is a big thing you've got to include.
So
I don't know
so
what the time is.
No, we have 6 months left.
Oh, we
but
do.
I'm just saying, and for those who are wondering what to do with fitness, I feel that if you're a woman above 45, one of the biggest factors in aging is muscle loss. And to prevent that and to keep your muscles going strong, a little bit of resistance training is important, whether it's just twice a week or you can do up to, nothing which is really heavy cortisol-inducing, exercises. But if you do resistance training, you will not let your muscles, die and wither.
Yes.
And it's really important to keep your symptoms controlled by doing so.
And
I'm a
building
big
that
fan.
in your 30s is another takeaway for you guys. Don't build resistance
Yeah, if you're-
training later. Start younger.
Hit the ground running.
Yeah.
It was a very valuable advice given to me by somebody who looks awesome at 60. And she's like, just hit the ground running. That's my only takeaway. And I should have heard her thoda jaldi, but I didn't. But I still hang on to that. And I'm, it's easier when you start earlier.
Oh, yeah.
For all the men in the audience, I see a lot of men here. I would really, if you have sisters and wives and mums, I would just say, in Indian society, we don't give too much attention to our, mums who are constantly slaving over us in the kitchen, and, they don't get any time for themselves. They're constantly in serve mode, whichever, across economic stratas. You could be the most, well-to-do person, but they're always concerned about others. Please take our time and be really, really sensitive to their peace and well-being and what makes them happy. Be a little supportive. It's a really trying time in a woman's life when she's very confused and foggy and not feeling on top of her game. Help them put together another career that they're excited about, or some hobby or some meditation or whatever it is that they want to do. But really, if you guys at home are sensitive and you actually tell your boys and your girls and your children to be nice to mama, it is going to go a long way in how the entire mental health of the family is. Because an angry mama is not the best atmosphere for a home.
Yeah, absolutely. I think support is very important. And like I say, I really have a good sisterhood. I mean, I have good girlfriends
They're irreplaceable.
who I tap into all the time.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, that's important. So I think, and ask for help. A friend once told me, Shonali, you don't ask for help. And that's when I just learned such a big lesson, because I really don't. I'm so self-sufficient. So there's no harm in saying, listen, I need help.
Absolutely. That goes for therapy as well. I mean, there is no shame to say that maybe I just don't have enough friends and I want to do therapy.
Exactly.
I don't have friends who can sort out
My
everyday
problems,
lows
yeah.
and highs. So, there's no shame in it. That's
Yes.
what you need. You eat vitamins and feel better about your body. You go to a therapist, you feel better about your mind. Where is
yeah.
the taboo?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much
everyone.
for
And
having
thanks to
us.
all the men who just sat there looking at their phones. They'll be nicer to all the women at home. Thank you.